What's up, everyone? This is LB from BT Wrestling Arena at Blogspot. Today's show is all about the difference between the WCW, TNA, and the WWE. Uh, the TNA represents more of a WCW, NWA type atmosphere, and WWE represents more of a mainstream, big like Hollywood production atmosphere. Um, there are many differences in TNA. The only similarity with TNA is that they take more of the old WCW guys who went to WWE who are now in TNA. For instance, with TNA, we're gonna start off with arenas. Okay, we're gonna go down a list of differences from TNA and WWE. Okay, TNA emanates from a small venue, which at the beginning of the Monday Night Wars, Raw was Raw did the same thing, but theirs was more like a 9-10,000 seated arena, small arena, but it was still an arena. WCW did the same thing. They emanated from a small venue of small 400 seated studio. It wasn't even an arena, it was a studio. And that is what TNA is doing. They starting off in a small venue, and I think what they are trying to do is they're trying to build up their fan base to the point where they can go outside of Tampa. They can go to Miami. They can go to Charlotte, North Carolina. They can go to New York City. They can go to Detroit. They can go to many other places than just in Florida. You see, it took them a long time to really get out of Florida with their pay-per-views, and finally, I think it was the middle of last year, or maybe a year or two ago, that they finally was able to get out and go on the road with their pay-per-views, which is a good thing because you have to go to markets where the people might not know about TNA. They might not know about Spike TV. But if you go and you advertise right in these places where they don't have pay-per-views, and they might not have that luxury of having cable, then you are building your fan base, and that is what WCW had to find out the hard way, because of the fact that they would do shows just in the southeast. Later on, what they would do, they would go back to the same venues for pay-per-views over and over and over and over and over and over again. I think 2 years for Halloween Havoc. The first 2 years that Hulk Hogan was in WCW for Halloween Havoc, they would go to Detroit, and then I think for the rest of their existence of Halloween Havoc, they would go to the MGM Grand Casino. Starrcade, they would either be in Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee, or Washington, D.C. So, they had to learn that out the hard way, and that wasn't really a best option for them, even though they did go around the countries for the Nitros and the Thunders and the Saturday nights on TBS. you know, WWE arenas, they are big, lavish. Even back in the 80s and 70s, well, back in the 80s, in the 70s, they did small venues, they did small shows in small arenas, but the thing was they had the stars to one day make their arenas, make 18,000 seated arena for a small show fill up. The WWE still can do that. They still have that capability to do that. But it's the thing that now they are starting to slack off with the production, with the characters, with the wrestlers. The wrestlers are not giving that 110%. The storylines are stinking. So they are now kind of slumping down on that live show, 20,000 seated arena for a live show. Now for Raw, for SmackDown, for ECW, see now they are kind of using the same arenas for almost all three shows. Sometimes they do it for all three shows. For major pay-per-views, either if it's a Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, or Survivor Series, those are the four pay-per-views that will get the big seated arenas. Any other pay-per-view will get maybe just barely a 10,000 seated arena. You remember when they split the production of Raw and SmackDown, then later on ECW. You remember how the pay-per-views for SmackDown would be in the small, dimmed up arenas. Even though it would be lit, it would still be in a small arena, while Raw pay-per-views would be in big, lavish arenas. The next thing is superstars. Obviously, WWE has the better majority of superstars because of the fact that TNA only has their main supporters follow former WWE superstars like Kurt Angle or former WCW stars like Sting. You saw Christian Cage and Gail Kim. They went to TNA in the hopes of having more of that ability, more of that obligation to be champion, women's champion, or just TNA champion. To have that, those storylines coming to them, but obviously both of them didn't like it because they left. Over on TNA, you have Samoa Joe, and one thing about TNA and their superstars is that the one thing that I like about TNA is that they build their stars. Well, the ones that they actually do build, like AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, all of these people that stuck with the company at the very beginning, those are the stars that can make your company. The one bad thing about TNA is that they rely on, again, former WWE or WCW stars to make their company something. I think it's a bad idea because of the fact that in 10 to 12 years, well, not 10 to 12 years, but for maybe a year or 2 years, most of these people that are holding these championships, you know, the TNA championship, Kurt Angle, Sting, they're going to retire. Kevin Nash, he needs to retire. Booker T, he needs to retire, or he needs to amp up his storyline, or just amped up his character. He was a good WWE character. Then he got into that King Booker crap, and basically that's what messed him up. Scott Steiner needs to retire. He needed to retire even when he came into the WWE. I think what TNA needs to do is they need to rely on the people that's been in the company, that needs to have that spotlight, who deserves to have that spotlight because of the fact that they stuck with the company when the company was nothing. Also, and I'm going to cut this video off and check out part 2 of this, because next up I'm going to talk about the styles of pay-per-views, the setup of arenas, and the outlook, what I think is going to happen between WWE and TNA, what the future holds with these companies. Also, I'm going to discuss about TNA's ring design. Something's weird about it. Part 2 is coming up next. Check it out.